At first glance, Laos appears to be the most peaceful nation in Southeast Asia. Yet beneath that calm image lies a past few people know, as this quiet country was once scarred by landmines. Widely known as the land of a million elephants, Laos has also seen its natural environment suffer from poaching. Even so, behind its peaceful reputation, the country still preserves remarkably authentic cultural traditions. Beautiful women comfortably bathe beside men in the river without embarrassment. Beyond that, men are traditionally expected to spend time as monks before officially marrying. So in this video, we'll explore Laos, a peaceful nation filled with remarkable cultural mysteries. Number 1. The untold story of the land of a million elephants. Seen from afar, Laos can easily disappear into the map, tucked quietly within the heart of Southeast Asia. Yet this small country sits in a remarkably important location. 5 nations surround it: Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, and China, while Laos remains completely cut off from the sea. Stretching across 236,000 square kilometers, Laos stands 82nd worldwide and is smaller than Oregon in the United States. Yet within this limited territory live 7.7 million people from over 49 ethnic groups, forming a remarkably diverse cultural landscape. Between the 14th and 18th centuries, this central position turned the country into a crucial crossroads that controlled trade across the Indo-Chinese peninsula. But geography has also worked against Laos. Mountains cover more than 80% of the country, making travel, construction, and development far more difficult. Its economy still struggles today. With a GDP of just $16 billion and an average annual income of $2,023 in 2024, almost 40 times below the United States, Laos must depend on ports in Thailand or Vietnam, pushing transport costs higher and slowing economic progress. Still, beyond these hardships lies some of Southeast Asia's most striking scenery. Along the Mekong River, Sipon Don unfolds into 4,000 islands of every size. Don Kong Don Det and Don Con draw hundreds of thousands of travelers each year, inviting them to cycle through villages, paddle by kayak, and search for rare freshwater Irrawaddy dolphins. Yet the Mekong also reveals its dangerous side. From May to October, heavy rains raise the river dramatically and can flood vast areas. Long before that, King Fa created the Kingdom of Lan Sang, whose name means the land of a million elephants. Today, however, poaching and deforestation have reduced Laos's elephant population to fewer than 1,000. That legendary title now belongs more to history than reality. Lao remains the official language, and about 80% of it is mutually intelligible with Thai. Because of that closeness, people from both countries can understand one another without difficulty. Visitors may also find communication easier than expected, since English and French are commonly spoken in Vientiane. But before we explore the beauty of Lao women, the living soul of this nation, subscribe to the channel and stay with us for the next chapters of this journey. Number 2. The timeless grace of Lao women. When evening settles over the Mekong River, Lao women walk calmly in traditional clothing. At first glance, these graceful outfits seem simple, yet each preserves stories far deeper than their appearance suggests. Within the intricate serpent motifs, many believe wealth and love are invited into life. Tiger designs represent strength while offering symbolic protection. Seeing Lao women dressed this way feels like following an ancient epic woven into silk. Rather than relying on luxury, their beauty comes from quiet elegance and natural confidence. Many visitors are surprised that cosmetics and costly designer brands play only a small role. Instead, their greatest appeal comes from genuine simplicity. Even today, many still care for their skin, with saffron and pure coconut oil helping it remain healthy and radiant. In love, they value grace and humility above grand gestures. A gentle glance, a warm smile, or sticky rice as a gift often speaks more deeply than an elaborate love confession. Meanwhile, a white string tied around the wrist can symbolize lasting bonds and heartfelt blessings, expressing emotions beyond countless love letters. In Vientiane and Luang Prabang, professional women often wear pencil skirts with silk blouses. They sip coffee, check their phones, and switch comfortably between English and the local language. Today's generation includes independent, well-educated women, managing businesses and tourism enterprises. Even in high heels and bright red lipstick, they preserve a calm, traditional character, expressed through kind smiles and gentle eyes. However, this peaceful rhythm changes completely when the Bun Pi Mai Water Festival begins. During the celebration, young local women leave behind their usual shyness, wear colorful, fitted outfits, and become the center of attention. They happily splash water through the streets as lively music mixes with jasmine fragrance. Quiet tradition gives way to vibrant energy and excitement. Now, if you're wondering what truly wins the heart of a beautiful Lao woman, leave a comment below. I'll share the answer before this journey ends. Beneath that graceful appearance is remarkable resilience. Across modern Laos, nearly 35% of women aged 18 to 30 choose to remain single, focusing on personal growth instead of giving in to pressure to marry. At the same time, official records indicate that around 150 women are rescued each year from transnational trafficking networks connected to China, Ireland, and Malaysia, while roughly 400 offenders are arrested. You have now uncovered the remarkable beauty of Lao women. Next, prepare yourself for another fascinating experience. Number 3. Life beyond the cities of Laos. A journey into Laos's highland villages can feel like entering a different century. Once the cities disappear from view, the day settles into a gentler rhythm as the sun lowers behind the mountains. Village life unfolds inside thatched bamboo homes built above the ground where livestock supports a simple, rural existence. Rice is ground, clothes are washed beside the stream, and meals are prepared by the women. The men, meanwhile, spend hours gathering firewood deep in the forest before crossing slick hillsides barefoot with 110-pound bundles. Daily life gathers around the rural market, its stalls filled with wild vegetables, honey, sticky rice, and silver jewelry. Once each week, small kip coins are placed on lottery numbers, bringing excitement and the fragile hope of a better life. But beneath that lively scene, the land still carries memories of deep suffering. Those memories were shaped between 1964 and 1973, when 270 million cluster bombs fell across Laos. No country now has a higher average concentration of unexploded ordnance. Even with 80 million bombs still hidden underground, communities have learned to repurpose the debris, converting casings into flower pots and fences, or melting them into kitchen knives. One artillery shell casing may bring more than $100, turning wartime debris into both income and evidence of resilience. Yet hardship has not erased the warmth of the Lao people. Smiles and handshakes still shape the way they welcome one another. That calm outlook is summed up by Bo Pen Yang. Everything is okay, a phrase that expresses patience and tolerance. Along the riverfront promenades, men and women linger in easy, unplanned conversations. As night arrives, Vientiane and Luang Prabang brighten with market stalls displaying silk handicrafts, grilled pork noodle dishes, and smooth Lao beer. A very different Laos appears in Bo Tang, where glowing casinos, crowded karaoke bars, and energetic nightlife draw foreign tourists often attended by young women. Peace and temptation exist side by side, creating one of the country's sharpest contrasts. With only one night to choose, would you stay beside the quiet river or follow Bo Tang's glittering lights? Let me know in the comments. Number 4. Laos' unwritten cultural rules. A trip across Laos offers more than ancient temples and peaceful rivers. To truly understand the country, visitors also need to know the cultural taboos shaping everyday life. Many customs seem simple until they are unintentionally broken. Picture yourself inside a quiet temple, handing something directly to a monk. What appears harmless elsewhere is regarded as improper in Lao culture. Monks hold one of the highest positions of respect in society, so women are expected to avoid physical contact with them to preserve religious purity. When an item must be passed over, tradition calls for a male assistant to deliver it instead. The same attention to etiquette continues whenever you are welcomed into a local family's home. Inside the house, traditions become even more specific. Sleeping with your feet toward the entrance or stomping heavily is believed to invite misfortune and disturb evil spirits. Striking a plate with chopsticks or a spoon is also thought to summon unseen guests to the meal. Visitors are expected to respect these customs whenever entering someone's home. Daily etiquette extends beyond the home and onto the roads. If police stop you for a minor traffic offense, challenging them usually creates more trouble than it solves. A small payment often ends the situation quickly. Although this does not reflect official policy, it happens frequently enough that remaining calm and polite is generally the most practical response. Traditional etiquette also draws a clear distinction between the head and feet. The head is regarded as the body's most sacred part, while the feet are associated with impurity. For that reason, touching someone with your feet or pointing your toes toward another person is considered highly offensive. Because of these beliefs, paying attention to where your feet are placed is important. Everyday routines are guided by other traditions, including avoiding haircuts on Wednesdays, skipping hair washing on Thursdays, and using the car horn only when necessary. This mindset is reflected even in traffic. Around 85% of drivers in the capital Vientiane rarely sound their horns, helping keep the streets remarkably quiet. These customs are followed differently across the country, with larger cities becoming more flexible, while rural communities continue preserving them more strictly. After discovering these Lao taboos, which one surprised you most? Share your answer in the comments below. Number 5. Laos's extraordinary marriage traditions. For many Lao couples, marriage begins with a demanding journey where patience matters as much as love itself. Long before the wedding takes place, the groom enters 3 months of strict monastic discipline. His head is shaved, monk's robes replace ordinary clothes, and the temple becomes his home. Each morning begins with scripture recitation and meditation, while daily survival depends on collecting alms. Throughout this time, he lives without money, avoids seeing his future wife, and keeps complete silence. Rather than being a religious formality alone, the experience proves whether he possesses the discipline and character needed to support a family. Failing to complete the ritual carries serious consequences. If the groom gives up before finishing, the bride's family may cancel the marriage without negotiation. Yet, as modern lifestyles gradually replace this tradition, concerns have grown. According to the United Nations and the World Bank, nearly half of Lao women have experienced domestic violence from their partners. Even though the reported rate reaches 40%, many women remain silent because long-held beliefs encourage wives to be patient and submissive. Even so, traditional wedding ceremonies continue across Laos. The celebration usually opens with guests sharing homemade rice wine. During the ceremony, women appear in elegant sin dresses, decorated with silver jewelry and marigold flowers. Elders offer prayers before placing crisp banknotes into the bride's hair as a blessing. Yet the ceremony's most distinctive tradition comes afterward, when the groom joins the bride's family. On the wedding day, the groom arrives carrying a valuable sword, together with the dowry. Before crossing the doorway, he steps onto a stone slab covered with banana leaves, while his bride performs the traditional foot-washing ritual. Only after presenting the dowry is he welcomed inside. Marriage does not send him to a new home of his own. Instead, he spends the next 1 or 2 years living with his wife's family, helping with finances or working in the fields. In certain households, the groom even becomes responsible for preparing meals, something that often surprises foreign visitors. Would you embrace this tradition of living with your wife's family in Laos? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 6. The flavors of Laotian cuisine. One of the best ways to discover Lao culture is by sitting down and experiencing the country's traditional cuisine. At the center of nearly every meal is sticky rice. Steamed inside handcrafted bamboo baskets, it develops a fragrant aroma and a pleasantly chewy texture. Rather than using utensils, most people enjoy it with their hands, alongside grilled meats, spicy salads, or steaming bowls of soup. Among the country's favorite dishes is ping kai, a traditional grilled chicken. After being marinated with garlic, lemongrass, and fish sauce, it is slowly cooked over charcoal until the skin becomes crisp and the meat absorbs a rich, smoky flavor. A walk through any local market quickly introduces you to sai owa, a fragrant sausage packed with chilies, ginger, and aromatic herbs. Another essential favorite is tam mak hung, the famous green papaya salad, where shredded papaya is mixed with lime juice, fish sauce, chilies, and sugar to create a balance of sour, spicy, salty, and sweet flavors. Travel deeper into the mountain villages, and the food becomes even more adventurous. Local cooks often season soup with stems from the sakan pepper tree, producing a tingling sensation across the tongue that feels almost like a gentle electric shock. The surprises continue with crispy fried black spider. Despite its intimidating appearance, the legs are as crunchy as potato chips, while the body delivers a rich, nutty flavor similar to roasted chestnuts. Another unusual ingredient comes from deep forests where red ant eggs are carefully collected. Although they look unusual, these milky white eggs have a light, slightly tangy taste and are often served in soups or stir-fried with lime leaves and chilies. Their delicate texture and high protein content surprise many first-time visitors. If you found yourself wandering through a lively night market beside the Mekong River, surrounded by unfamiliar aromas, which dish would tempt you first? The tongue-tingling sakan pepper soup, the rich fried spider, or the flavorful red ant eggs? Share your choice in the comments. Number 7. Laos through beer and sticky rice. No country in the world eats more sticky rice than Laos. Here, annual consumption is estimated to reach as much as 155 kilograms for every person. Its importance reaches far beyond the dinner table. Sticky rice represents a deeply rooted part of Lao identity, bringing families together during meals, while also serving as a sacred morning offering to monks. And in everyday life, its fragrance is often enjoyed alongside another favorite found across the country, beer. At the center of that drinking culture stands Beer Lao, the country's most popular brand. Its golden color comes from a brewing process that combines premium sticky rice with hops brought directly from Germany. After receiving praise from publications including Time and CNN, it has reached markets in more than 20 countries. Its strongest following, however, remains at home. Beer is poured at nearly every occasion, whether guests are celebrating an outdoor wedding or simply gathering for lunch. Some households store so much of it that keeping beer nearby seems almost as ordinary as keeping water. Much like the woven baskets used to serve sticky rice, beer has become inseparable from daily social life. But the relaxed atmosphere surrounding it hides consequences that are far more serious. Economically, the brewing industry adds more than $61 million to annual tax revenue, yet its wider social cost remains severe. During the period from 2020 to 2024, nearly 6,800 traffic accidents were recorded across Laos. Drunk driving and excessive speed contributed to more than 900 deaths and injuries, affecting tens of thousands of people. Beyond the roads, alcohol can also accelerate illnesses, such as heart failure and cancer conditions associated with approximately 55% of deaths nationwide. For its distinctive taste, beer continues to hold a proud place in Lao culture. Still, every drinker must decide whether that enjoyment should come without restraint or whether protecting personal health should come first. Number 8. Living well for less in Laos. Imagine settling in a country where life moves at a gentler pace. The people are welcoming, and rent remains remarkably inexpensive. Laos is now gaining recognition as one of the world's most affordable places to visit. According to a Hello Safe report, published in 2025, it ranked first among 136 countries, with travelers spending an average of only $10.97 a day. In other words, a full day in Laos can cost less than a single fast food meal in the United States. The savings continue even for people considering a long-term move, particularly to the capital Vientiane. A monthly budget of around $1,000 is generally enough to pay for housing, meals, transportation, and everyday necessities while maintaining a comfortable lifestyle. Renting a private apartment in the city center usually costs between $300 and $600 each month. Those wanting something more upscale do not have to spend much more. A fully furnished apartment with air conditioning and high-speed internet typically rents for about $800. Dining is equally affordable, with local specialties costing around $13, and Western restaurant meals usually staying below $15. Basic monthly utilities, including electricity, water, and internet, usually total between $50 and $120. One Western visitor even joked that what once covered only rent back home now pays for an entire month of living in Laos. After discovering the country's peaceful atmosphere and rustic charm, many foreign visitors decide to stay much longer than originally planned. The difference becomes even clearer when Laos is compared with Barbados, considered the world's most expensive travel destination, where visitors may spend up to $28,644 in a single day. With its combination of safety, beautiful landscapes, peaceful surroundings, and remarkably low living costs, it is no surprise that many travelers eventually see Laos as a second home. If living comfortably on $1,000 each month were possible, would you consider moving there? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 9. The hidden mysteries of Laos. At first glance, Laos seems defined by peace and simplicity. Yet beyond that calm exterior, countless astonishing mysteries begin to emerge. Beyond the tranquil temples and mist-covered mountains exists a landscape where ancient legends often speak louder than science. Many of these secrets remain unsolved. One of the greatest awaits in Xiangkhouang province, where more than 2,000 giant stone jars lie scattered across the hills, like traces of a civilization long lost. Several of these massive jars weigh many tons. Known locally as the Plain of Jars, the site continues to puzzle researchers. Some believe the vessels once held rice wine for ancient celebrations, while others argue they served as containers for human ashes. The discovery of human bones and burial objects has only deepened the mystery. Fashioned from granite and sandstone rich in quartz feldspar and mica, the jars have endured 2,000 years of weather, war, and bombings. UNESCO added the site to its World Heritage List in 2019, yet no one knows who created them. Continuing north toward the ancient capital of Luang Prabang, another remarkable mystery appears. Inside the Pak U caves, hidden within limestone cliffs above the Mekong River. Inside, thousands of wooden Buddha statues, ranging from tiny figures to larger carvings, fill every corner of the caves. In the faint light, their shadows spread across the rock walls, creating a sacred atmosphere that seems to preserve centuries of prayer. The moment you enter, a powerful sense of peace and reverence fills the space. Travel farther south, and the mystery changes completely at Kon Papeng Falls, one of Southeast Asia's largest waterfalls. Its deafening roar resembles the voice of a living beast, leading local people to believe that a river god dwells beneath the turbulent waters. Stories passed down by fishermen describe the Mekong giant catfish as a creature of extraordinary intelligence, where legend and reality seem impossible to separate. Deep within the mountains of Adapyu and Sekong provinces, many ethnic minority communities still avoid entering forbidden forests because they believe ancestral gods and the spirits of their forefathers continue to guard the land. Beyond these legends, the monasteries of Luang Prabang continue to safeguard ancient manuscripts that many scholars believe preserve forgotten human knowledge. More than an ordinary country, Laos feels like a living museum where countless mysteries still await discovery. Among all the mysteries you've seen, which one fascinated you the most? Share your answer in the comments below. Number 10. Laos's most extraordinary festivals. Anyone who thinks the land of a million elephants is defined only by peace and quiet has yet to experience its colorful festivals, where tradition comes alive in unforgettable ways. The journey begins in Sayaburi province at the annual Elephant Festival, held in a region closely connected to Laos's royal past. It was King Fan Gum who gave the country the proud title of the Kingdom of a Million Elephants. Today, however, fewer than 1,000 remain, with roughly 400 surviving in the wild and another 500 living in captivity. To help protect this national symbol, the festival has taken place every year since 2007 and continues to attract thousands of visitors. Throughout the celebration, elephants are carefully bathed, well-fed, and dressed in colorful costumes before joining parades. Beauty competitions, music and dance performances, soccer matches, and even flower-giving ceremonies. The celebration doesn't end there. The excitement moves to Vientiane, where traditional boat races mark the close of Buddhist Lent. Long racing boats decorated with carved dragon heads surge through the muddy waters of the Mekong River. Each crew consists of 50 paddlers, whose synchronized strokes drive the boats forward, while thousands of spectators line both banks to cheer them on. Although the competition is intense, the event remains a joyful celebration of unity, faith, and national pride. From there, attention turns to the country's liveliest festival of all, Bun Pi Mai, the Lao New Year. Picture yourself strolling down the street when someone suddenly splashes you with a bucket of icy water. In Laos, smiling is the only proper reaction, because the water symbolizes blessings washing away misfortune and inviting good luck. After Buddha statues are ceremonially bathed in the temples, crowds fill the streets, armed with buckets, hoses, and water guns, happily soaking everyone around them. By evening, everyone is soaked from head to toe, sharing the celebration together. The festivities conclude with the spectacular Bun Bang Phai Rocket Festival, when villagers launch homemade gunpowder rockets, weighing anywhere between 10 and 500 kilograms, high into the sky. For generations, these rockets have served as prayers for favorable weather, while announcing the end of the dry season with thunderous blasts. If you had the chance to visit Laos, which festival would you experience first? That brings our journey through 10 fascinating facts about Laos to a close. Which part of this country impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you can join our next adventure. Every summer, there's a country where people throw 150 tons of tomatoes at one another. It may look like chaos, but it's a treasured tradition. The same country has spent 144 years building one church, and even in 2026, it still isn't finished. It's a country where 2 tourists arrive for every resident, and locals have sprayed water guns to drive them away. You'll discover a wildcat rescued from fewer than 100 survivors. You'll also learn one word, sobremesa, that could change how you enjoy dinner forever. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll count down 15 things you probably didn't know about Spain, from number 15 to number 1. Subscribe if you love exploring the world. Let's begin. Spain is the European Union's second-largest country, covering about 195,000 square miles. That's around 1.2 times the size of California and nearly twice the size of the United Kingdom. It occupies the Iberian Peninsula, bordering France across the Pyrenees and Portugal to the west. From the southern tip of Gibraltar, you can see Africa with the naked eye. Its coastline stretches 8,000 kilometers. The landscape is remarkably varied. A Spanish saying describes the central plateau. 9 meses de invierno, 3 meses de infierno. 9 months of winter, 3 months of hell. In the Canary Islands, Mount Teide stands 12,188 feet tall, the third largest volcanic structure on Earth. Near Almeria lies Tabernas, Western Europe's only true desert, where Sergio Leone filmed The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The population is 49.7 million. Its economy ranks 14th in the world, growing faster in 2024 than Germany, France, or Italy. But Spain is more than mountains and sea. It's a country of 49 million people, living in a way few others truly share. And it all begins with the women. Spanish women have a phrase for the way they dress. Elegante y cómodo. Elegant and comfortable. It's neither the polished style of Paris nor the seasonal trends of New York. It's something uniquely Spanish. Penelope Cruz walks the Oscars red carpet in Chanel, yet still laughs as if she's sitting in a Madrid bar. Rosalía performs at the Grammys without ever softening her Andalusian accent. Spanish style means knowing exactly who you are and never apologizing for it. That same contradiction defines Spain in 2026. Statistically, it is the most feminist country in Europe. Women hold 44% of the seats in parliament. Maternity leave lasts 16 weeks, and paternity leave lasts exactly the same. Equal. Spain passed Europe's first gender-based violence law in 2004. Yet every year between 40 and 50 women are still killed by partners or former partners. 2 Spains exist side by side. In 1931, Clara Campoamor, A 43-year-old lawyer stood alone in Parliament and argued that Spanish women deserved the right to vote. The men in the chamber voted in favor. Spanish women gained the vote in 1931, before French women finally did in 1944. Then Franco took power and reversed everything. Clara died in exile, but what she began continued to grow. 94 years later, Letizia, once a journalist and never born into royalty, is Queen of Spain. The story is still being written, but Spain itself doesn't truly wake until much later, because this country really comes alive after dark. At 8 in the evening in Madrid, the streets are still glowing. In La Latina, 19th century taverns open for tapeo, the tradition of moving from bar to bar. People stand shoulder to shoulder with glasses of vermouth while plates of croquetas rest on the counter. No one sits and no one is in a hurry. By 11, younger crowds head to Malasaña, one of Europe's last truly bohemian neighborhoods. Behind an unmarked wooden door, a tiny jazz bar waits. Maria, a 27-year-old architect from Barcelona, spends her weekdays at work. On Fridays, she joins friends in El Born, the old Gothic quarter, at a rooftop bar overlooking Santa Maria del Mar. Wearing a linen jumpsuit, white sneakers, and small gold hoop earrings, she orders a glass of Catalonia's sparkling cava, not to get drunk, but to talk until 2 in the morning. That's the Spanish night, slow, relaxed, and never trying to impress. If your budget is higher, Ibiza from June to September becomes the world's electronic music capital. Yet, Ibiza has another side. Away from the famous DJ's Chiringuito line, the beaches serving grilled sea bream as the sun sets over Cala Comte, elegante y comodo, once again. But behind all that beauty, Spain in 2026 faces a crisis so serious that its own people are taking to the streets. Modern Spain faces its greatest contradiction. Spain welcomed 90 million tourists in 2024. By 2026, that figure is expected to reach 100 million. The country's population is just 49.7 million. That's 2 tourists for every Spanish citizen. Since 2018, Airbnb has pushed rents in central Barcelona up by 40 to 70%. In April 2025, hundreds of thousands protested across more than 40 Spanish cities. Crowds shouted, "Get Airbnb out." They sprayed water pistols at tourists sitting on cafe terraces. Barcelona later announced it would cancel all 10,000 Airbnb licenses by 2028. A 26-year-old lawyer, Mari Sanchez, told reporters, "I spend 40% of my salary on rent. I can't save. I can't buy a car. I can't live independently." Then, on April 28, 2025, the entire Iberian Peninsula lost electricity. More than 50 million people in Spain and Portugal were affected. Trains stopped in tunnels and airports closed. A TMS shut down. In Madrid, people opened their windows and spoke with neighbors, perhaps for the first time in years. It showed how fragile modern infrastructure can be. But this is what matters. Spain is changing quickly. The government has announced a €7 billion public housing plan, triple the previous investment. Spain's happiness ranking still remains in the world's top 30, above the United States. The story isn't over. It's only entering a new chapter. Antoni Gaudí started designing the Sagrada Familia in 1882. He was never a conventional architect. Instead of relying on rulers, he wandered through Catalonia's forests, studying trees, bones, and seashells, then transformed them into columns. Inside the cathedral, there are no straight lines, only double-twisted columns like eucalyptus trunks and ceilings that bloom like sunflowers. In 1926, Gaudí was crossing a street in Barcelona when a tram hit him. He looked like a homeless man. That day, no one recognized the nation's most celebrated architect. He was buried in the crypt beneath his unfinished cathedral. After 144 years, in 2026, it is finally scheduled to be completed, exactly 1 century after his death. That's 4 times longer than building the Great Pyramid took. Around 4.7 million people visit each year. But the real wonder isn't its size. It's that an entire nation continued building it across 4 generations, through civil war, Franco's rule, financial crisis, and a pandemic. In Spain, time is never the enemy. Time is a partner. If the Sagrada Familia stands as a monument to patience, then number 10 celebrates beauty born from a completely different empire. Climb Sabica Hill in Granada. Look over the city below. You'll find the Alhambra, the last and greatest Moorish palace still standing in Europe. Step into the Court of the Lions. 12 marble lions stand in a circle, pouring water from their mouths. Arabic words are carved across the walls, again and again. There is no victor but Allah. On January 2nd, 1492, the last Moorish ruler, Boabdil, walked down that hill and gave the keys to Isabel and Fernando, ending 781 years of Islamic rule on the Iberian Peninsula. As he rode away, Boabdil looked back and wept. His mother told him, "Do not cry like a woman for what you could not keep like a man." That mountain pass is still called Suspiro del Moro, the Moor's sigh. 8 centuries of Islamic civilization left more than a palace. Nearly 4,000 modern Spanish words come from Arabic, along with coffee, oranges, advanced irrigation, and algebra. Visiting the Alhambra is more than seeing great architecture. It's touching a chapter of European history many Americans never learned in school. But Spain's artistic legacy doesn't end with architecture. It lives through music, especially one remarkable dance. In Granada's Sacromonte neighborhood, cave houses carved into the hillside have been home to Gitano, the Spanish Roma families, for more than 500 years. At 10 each night, small flamenco venues called tableaus open their doors. A guitarist quietly tunes his instrument. Then a bailaora steps forward in a black ruffled dress. The music begins. It isn't joyful. It's cante hondo, deep song. The guitar almost sounds like it's crying. Then her feet strike the wooden floor like a heartbeat. Faster. Then faster still. Then everything stops at once. The audience falls silent. That's the moment of duende, a Spanish word with no true English equivalent. It's an emotion so powerful, it sends a shiver through you. Poet Federico Garcia Lorca devoted an entire lecture to it. He believed duende doesn't live inside the artist. It rises from the earth, from the bones of ancestors, from what was lost and never returned. Flamenco is recognized as UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. It's how Spaniards speak of pain without saying a word. But Spain doesn't live on sorrow alone. Its people also throw some of the wildest festivals on earth. The town of Buñol, a quiet town of 9,000 near Valencia, except on the last Wednesday of August. On that day, 20,000 people arrive from across the world for La Tomatina. At 11 in the morning, trucks dump 150 tons of overripe tomatoes into the town square. For exactly 1 hour, everyone throws them at each other. No anger, no rivalry, only pure joy. The streets turn red. Then, at noon, firefighters wash the town clean. Finished. 3 weeks earlier, from July 7th to 14th, Pamplona hosts another celebration, San Fermin. It's famous for one thing, the running of the bulls. Every morning at exactly 8:06, fighting bulls, each weighing about 600 kilograms, race along a narrow half-mile cobblestone route. Between 500 and 2,000 runners dressed in white with red neck scarves sprint ahead of them. Ernest Hemingway first came in 1923 and wrote "The Sun Also Rises," making San Fermin famous worldwide. Still, people return every year to run again. Because in Spain, festivals aren't meant to be watched. They're meant to be lived. Between those celebrations, Spaniards enjoy a daily ritual much of the world quietly admires. If you ever have dinner with a Spanish family, remember this. The meal doesn't finish when the food is gone. There's a word, sobremesa, literally meaning over the table. It's the time people remain seated after eating, doing nothing except talking. It can last 2, 3, even 4 hours. In Barcelona on a Sunday, a family may start lunch at 2 and still be talking at 6. That's one reason Spain leads Europe in time spent socializing with friends. Tapas culture, with small plates costing 2 to 6 euros and moving from bar to bar, isn't really about food. It's a way of life. You don't simply have dinner, you salir de tapas. It's a verb. Jamón ibérico de bellota comes from black Iberian pigs, raised free-range on acorns and cured for 4 years. A premium leg can cost $1,500, yet a paper-thin slice at a neighborhood taberna costs $4. That's Spain, making luxury available to everyone. And speaking of remarkable comebacks, one Spanish animal has made the greatest wildlife recovery of the 21st century. The Iberian lynx. Lynx pardinus is the only wildcat found exclusively on the Iberian Peninsula. Adults weigh between 20 and 35 pounds, with long whiskers flaring from the cheeks and black tufts of fur on their ears. Most live in Andújar and Doñana National Park. Their diet is 95% European rabbit. They are so specialized that when myxomatosis devastated rabbit populations in 1988, the lynx declined with them. They hunt at dawn and dusk. They can leap 13 feet into the air to catch prey. Here's why the world should care. In 2002, fewer than 100 Iberian lynxes remained on Earth. The species stood one harsh winter away from extinction. But Spain, Portugal, and the European Union refused to let that happen. Over 20 years, they invested 200 million euros in captive breeding and reintroduction. By 2024, the population exceeded 2,000. The IUCN changed the lynx's status from critically endangered to vulnerable, a conservation success that is rarely seen. Spaniards often say the lynx reflects their country pushed to the brink, but recovering again. If you're enjoying Spain so far, leave a hola in the comments so I know you're still watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We still have 5 of the best things to come. During Holy Week in Seville, Semana Santa, one procession stands above the rest, La Madrugada. It begins late on Thursday night and continues until dawn on Good Friday. 60 religious brotherhoods, the cofradías, carry statues of Christ and the Virgin Mary. Each float weighs around 2 tons. 40 to 50 costaleros carry it on their shoulders, moving in perfect step for 12 continuous hours. Then, from a balcony above, a woman begins singing a saeta, one voice, no instruments, half prayer, half flamenco. The crowd becomes silent, a tradition kept alive for 5 centuries. On the opposite side of Spain lies another spiritual path, the Camino de Santiago, a pilgrimage stretching 500 miles from the French Pyrenees to Santiago de Compostela. In 2024, more than 500,000 people from 150 countries walked part of the route, carrying heavy backpacks, sleeping in albergues, and nursing blistered feet. Some walk for God. Some walk after losing a loved one. Others walk because they still don't know what they're searching for. Every pilgrim receives the same certificate, the Compostela. In Spain, spirituality isn't only found inside a church. Sometimes it's an 800-kilometer journey on foot. No sporting event on earth draws a bigger audience than El Clásico. Real Madrid against FC Barcelona, played twice each year, is watched live by around 650 million people worldwide. That's more than the Super Bowl. But El Clásico is far more than football. It's 125 years of political rivalry compressed into 90 minutes. Real Madrid represents a united Spain. Barcelona stands as the symbol of Catalan identity. Their motto, Més que un club, more than a club. On El Clásico Day, tapas bars across Barcelona stop serving. People sit quietly and watch. When Barcelona wins, car horns echo through the city for hours. When they lose, the streets become as silent as a funeral. And Spain creates more than football legends. Rafael Nadal has won Roland Garros 14 times, the greatest clay court record in tennis history. Pau Gasol became Spain's most successful NBA player, winning 2 titles with the Lakers. Fernando Alonso owns 2 Formula One World Championships. For a nation of 49 million people, Spain has produced an extraordinary number of world champions. But if one artist represents Spain to the world, it's him. April 26, 1937. A small Basque town called Guernica. No military base, no weapons industry, only women, children, and elderly people at the Monday market. That afternoon, Nazi bombers, allied with Franco, attacked the town for 3 continuous hours. More than 1,600 civilians were killed. It became the first deliberate aerial bombing of a civilian population in European history. In Paris, 55-year-old Spanish painter Pablo Picasso heard what had happened. Within 35 days, he completed a canvas 25 feet wide, Guernica. Painted entirely in black, white, and gray. A horse screams. A bull stands frozen. A mother mourns her dead child. Not a single touch of red, no visible blood. Yet after 30 seconds, you understand you are looking at evil. Today, Guernica hangs in Madrid's Museo Reina Sofia, the most famous anti-war painting of the 20th century. Picasso was not the only master. Salvador Dalí, Joan Miró, Diego Velázquez, Francisco Goya, and El Greco. Spain produced 6 painters who transformed the history of European art. The Museo del Prado holds 45,000 works and is free during the final 2 hours before closing. So how modern is Spain in 2026? Spain has Europe's largest high-speed rail network, with about 2,500 miles of AVE tracks, second only to China worldwide. Madrid to Barcelona takes just 2 hours and 30 minutes at 193 miles per hour. Book early, and fares can fall to $30 or $45. You can have breakfast in Madrid, work during the trip, and arrive in Barcelona for a seafood lunch. Healthcare is public and free at the point of use. Spain spends about $3,000 per person each year on healthcare. The United States spends more than $12,000. The result? Spanish life expectancy reaches 84 years, 4th highest in the world, 6 years longer than the average American. Parental leave provides 16 weeks for mothers and 16 weeks for fathers. Equal. In 2024, renewable sources generated 56% of Spain's electricity. The goal is 81% by 2030. Solar farms spread across Extremadura, while wind turbines line Aragon. Spain's landscape is quietly changing from olive groves to solar panels. That's how modern Spain lives, connected, yet still rooted in the spirit of flamenco and sobremesa. Before we finish, here's the practical information you should know before visiting Spain. The best time to go. Spring, from April through June, offers great weather. Semana Santa and Feria de Abril, with daily costs around $80 to $150. Summer is perfect for beaches and festivals, though the south can reach 104 degrees. Autumn, from September through November, is the sweet spot. Fewer tourists, pleasant weather, and daily costs of $70 to $130. Winter is ideal for the Canary Islands, with temperatures near 70 degrees. One special event, a total solar eclipse, will cross Spain on August 12, 2026, from Galicia through Zaragoza to Valencia. Budget guide. Backpackers spend about $50 to $70 a day, with hostels and tapas. Mid-range travelers spend $120 to $180 using 3-star hotels and the Menu del Dia costing $15 to $20. Luxury starts at $250 a day. Round-trip flights from the U.S. usually cost $550 to $900. Sagrada Familia admission is $28. Alhambra costs $22, but summer tickets should be booked 3 months ahead. One insider tip. The Menu del Dia is one of Europe's best value meals. Visa rules. Americans can stay up to 90 days without a visa, but from Q4 2026, ETIS becomes mandatory, a €20 online authorization valid for 3 years. One rule many visitors miss. Drinking alcohol in public parks may bring a €200 fine. Friends greet each other with a kiss on both cheeks, never on the lips. Tipping is usually 5 to 10%. In smaller towns, many shops close from 2 to 5 p.m. for siesta. And the biggest surprise, dinner starts around 9 p.m. A restaurant serving dinner at 7 p.m. is mostly for tourists. but you can search those facts in 5 minutes. What you won't find so easily is what you'll remember after leaving. There's a word here, sobremesa. It means staying at the table after the meal when the food is gone. Nothing to do, nowhere to be, only you, the person across from you, and the afternoon light through a glass of vermouth. It's an Andalusian grandmother spending 4 hours making paella every Sunday. It's an old fisherman in Galicia diving into icy water for percebes with his bare hands. It's a young woman in Malasaña still talking with strangers at 4 in the morning after meeting them at midnight. It's also why the Sagrada Familia has taken 144 years to build, and nobody in Spain believes it's late. Spain, the land of flamenco, jamón, and sobremesa, may be the last place where time isn't the enemy, but the companion. If this video changed how you see Spain, leave a hola in the comments so I know you stayed until the end. If you've visited Spain or hope to one day, tell me your story. Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss next week's journey to somewhere completely different. Any guesses? Leave a comment below. Share this video with someone who should discover Spain. It might change their life. See you later, in Spanish. How can a country that seems as beautiful as a painting also conceal deadly roads, a meteorite lake, a tunnel feared by travelers, and valleys that once kept powerful empires at a distance? Tajikistan is far more than a land of towering mountains. Behind every breathtaking landscape lies a story, unusual enough to make you stop and take a closer look. A Persian nation in Central Asia. Many people see Tajikistan and quickly group it with the Turkic countries of Central Asia. But that idea is mistaken from the very beginning. Beneath its familiar location, Tajikistan holds an identity closely connected to the Persian world. Tajik is a branch of Persian, and the country's cultural heritage follows the same path. From its literature and architecture to traditions that existed long before Islam. To understand Tajikistan, you have to mention Ismail Somoni, the figure widely regarded as the father of the Tajik nation. He ruled during the 9th and 10th centuries, when the Samanid Empire stretched across lands that are now part of Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and Iran. During his reign, Persian experienced a strong revival and became a key foundation of modern Tajik identity. This is not simply a historical detail added for effect. It is the clearest line separating Tajikistan from much of the surrounding Central Asian world. That is why it is difficult to understand the country correctly if you see it only as a mountainous land surrounded by Turkic nations. Tajikistan belongs to a different cultural tradition, a different historical memory, and a different stream of civilization. Once this becomes clear, viewers begin to realize the country is far more complex than the cold, dry, and distant image it often presents from the outside. 7 color-changing lakes in Tajikistan. Childuktaran is the kind of landscape that only takes one visit to stay in your memory. Found in Katlan province in southern Tajikistan, it is known for its towering red and yellow sandstone pillars, shaped over millions of years by wind, rain, and erosion. It looks nothing like the Tajikistan most people expect. There are no blue lakes or snow-covered peaks here, only a vast, red, arid landscape, standing silently like rows of giant stone figures. The name Childuktaran, meaning 40 girls, comes from a legend telling how 40 young women were turned to stone to escape invading forces. That story gives the place an even deeper sense of meaning. The sandstone pillars become more than a geological formation. They seem to preserve an ancient memory, held together by windstone and time. Yet even without the legend, Childuktaran is still striking enough to leave visitors standing in awe. Over countless centuries, wind and water carved the soft sandstone into towers, arches, and narrow grooves, creating what feels like a vast natural museum. Here, Tajikistan completely overturns the image most people have of the country. From this point on, viewers realize its mystery comes not only from its history, but also from the extraordinary landscapes themselves. The giant Buddha, buried underground. Inside the National Museum of Antiquities in Dushanbe, one artifact immediately catches the attention of many visitors. It is a reclining Buddha, measuring about 13 meters in length, uncovered during the 1960s at Ajina Tepe, a Buddhist monastery that dates back to the 7th century. Its enormous size is impressive by itself, but what makes the discovery even more remarkable is that the statue had remained buried underground for centuries. It reveals a chapter of history that few people expect to find in Tajikistan. Before later cultural influences reshaped this land, the region was once part of the Buddhist world along the Silk Road. Buddhist monasteries stood here, monks lived here, and communities carried their beliefs through the valleys of present-day Tajikistan. That 13-meter statue is, therefore, much more than an ancient monument. It stands as evidence that this land was once linked to civilizations far beyond what many people imagine. From this point onward, Tajikistan becomes increasingly difficult to predict. The more closely you examine it, the clearer it becomes that the country has never possessed just a single identity. Beneath every layer of soil, every valley, and every ancient site, there is always the possibility of uncovering a truth completely different from what people first expected. Pamir, the harsh roof of Central Asia. Pamir is more than the best-known mountain region in Tajikistan. It is a powerful natural force that has shaped the entire country to survive by its own rules. Around 93% of Tajikistan is covered by mountains and rugged terrain, leaving very little land for development like a typical lowland nation. And Pamir, the highest, coldest, and most unforgiving region in the east, reflects that reality better than anywhere else. Some valleys here lie at elevations where many other countries would already consider them mountain passes. The air grows thinner, winters last longer, and the distance between settlements becomes far more difficult to cross. Everything demands greater effort from travel and transporting supplies to the routines of everyday life. Throughout history, Pamir served as a massive natural barrier. Empires that reached these mountains were forced to slow their advance. Armies attempting to cross them paid a heavy price in manpower, time, and endurance. Caravans traveling along the Silk Road usually followed the lower edges instead of heading directly across this harsh, high plateau. That is why Pamir is far more than a spectacular backdrop for a documentary. It is a natural force that shaped Tajikistan from the inside. It determined who could pass, who would remain, and how the country evolved. Simply put, Tajikistan does not just contain Pamir on its map. Pamir also helped shape Tajikistan itself. The dam that swallowed an entire valley. Nurek Dam is far more than a huge engineering project. Its scale was so great that it caused an entire valley to disappear beneath the water. Rising over 300 meters, Nurek remains one of the tallest dams in the world. But what makes it truly unforgettable is not just its height. More important is what once stood here before the enormous concrete wall changed the landscape forever. Before the reservoir was created, this valley was home to villages, farmland, roads, and the everyday lives of countless families. As construction progressed, the water gradually rose until an entire community slowly vanished beneath the lake. What was once part of daily life now survives only through memories, old stories, and a handful of archived photographs. That is why Nurek feels like much more than a typical engineering achievement. It marks a dividing line that split the history of the entire region into two eras. Today, the surface of the lake appears calm when viewed from afar, yet that quiet surface is far from empty. Beneath it rests a vanished landscape that once supported everyday life. Nurek is therefore not only a symbol of electricity and modernization, but also a reminder that in Tajikistan, some projects reshape more than the land. They transform the destiny of an entire valley. The last ecosystem slowly disappearing. Tigravaya Balka is not the kind of place that amazes people at first sight. Its true significance lies much deeper. It is one of the last places where Tugay Forest still survives a riverside ecosystem that once spread across Central Asia, but has now almost disappeared because of agriculture and changing river systems. In other words, Tigravaya Balka is more than a nature reserve. It is one of the last remaining pieces of a natural world that was once far more extensive. The area is especially important for the Bactrian deer, a species that nearly became extinct and still depends on riverside forests for survival. What gives Tigrovaya Balka an even more haunting atmosphere is the memory of the Caspian tiger officially declared extinct in the mid-20th century. Although no confirmed records remain, older residents still tell stories of seeing tigers long after that time. Those accounts make the landscape feel as though it has never completely lost its connection to the past. This is the kind of chapter that draws attention not through spectacular scenery, but through a sense of disappearance. An ecosystem that once covered vast areas has been reduced to a fragile strip of land. As viewers journey through Tigrovaya Balka, they begin to realize that Tajikistan is not only defined by what still survives today, but also by what is slowly fading away. Sarazm, a forgotten 5,500-year-old civilization. Sarazm is the kind of place where its age alone is enough to capture people's attention. Discovered in the 1970s, it was identified as the remains of a settlement more than 5,500 years old. That means, long before the great empires emerged in Central Asia, a well-organized community with impressive craftsmanship had already flourished here. The most remarkable discovery at Sarazm was the grave of a woman buried with gold, silver, and beautifully crafted lapis lazuli. Archaeologists later named her the Princess of Sarazm. From that point, Sarazm was no longer viewed as just another archaeological site. Instead, it became a lasting mystery. Who were these people? How advanced was their society? And why did such a sophisticated community disappear without leaving a clear trace of continuity? Those unanswered questions make Sarazm even more compelling than many other ancient sites. It is both evidence and mystery. It shows that Central Asia was home to advanced civilizations far earlier than many people realize, while also leaving behind a silence that remains difficult to explain. That is the kind of story that does more than surprise viewers. It leaves them wondering what other secrets Tajikistan may still be hiding beneath the ground. 7 color-changing lakes. Haft Kul. Known as the 7 lakes in the Fan Valley, is the kind of place that becomes more unbelievable the longer you look at it. What makes it remarkable is not only the chain of 7 lakes, but the way their waters constantly change color with the light and mineral content. A lake may appear turquoise at midday, then turn a deep blue by late afternoon. That is why many visitors return with countless photos and still debate which image belongs to which lake. This constant transformation makes Haft Kul very different from an ordinary scenic destination. It creates the feeling that nature here is always changing. According to local folklore, each of the 7 lakes has its own character. Some are believed to be calm, others fierce, and one is even said to swallow sound itself. There is no scientific evidence behind these stories, yet the changing colors and shifting clarity of the water continue to make people feel that something unusual is happening here. At this point, the rhythm of the story moves into a new emotional layer. After chapters filled with history and geopolitics, Tajikistan suddenly reveals itself through a mystery that anyone can witness. There is little need for explanation. The moment the water changes color before your eyes, it becomes clear that this is no ordinary place. Pamir Highway, the deadly border road. The Pamir Highway is not the kind of road people travel once and easily forget. Known as the M41, it is one of the highest international highways in the world, crossing eastern Tajikistan while following the Panj River, the natural border with Afghanistan. A single glance at the map is enough to see this road was never designed for easy travel. Its path was shaped by rugged terrain, vast distances, and genuine strategic needs. During the Soviet period, the highway served as an important military supply route. Even earlier, it carried merchants, explorers, and mountain travelers, linking distant regions together. What makes the Pamir Highway truly unforgettable, however, is not only its history. The most striking reality is that everything here must submit to the mountains. Altitude controls the way you breathe. Distance determines how quickly you can travel. The weather decides whether your journey continues or comes to an abrupt stop. From time to time, rare Marco Polo sheep can be seen on the slopes above the highway, appearing tiny against the immense mountain landscape. The Pamir Highway is therefore much more than a spectacular road for drone footage. It is an early reminder that in Tajikistan, geography is not simply part of the story. It is the force that shapes the entire story. Wakhan, the secret corridor between empires. Wakhan is far more than a remote valley hidden between towering mountain ranges. Throughout history, it served as a narrow strip of land maintained to keep rival empires from confronting one another directly. Stretching along the Panj River in southeastern Tajikistan, Wakhan appeared on 19th-century maps as a strategic buffer separating Russia, Britain, and Afghanistan. That fact alone shows this was never an ordinary valley. In Wakhan, geography and politics have always been inseparable. Towering mountains, narrow routes, and a river marking the border turned this land into a natural space between competing powers. Perched high above the valley, Yamchun Fortress was never built simply to enjoy the scenery. Its commanding position makes its purpose unmistakable. It was designed to watch over the corridor, control movement, and detect anyone passing through. That is why Wakhan leaves such a lasting impression. It is beautiful, yet its beauty carries the weight of history. It is peaceful, but beneath that silence lies a remarkably complex past. From the very beginning, Tajikistan reveals another side of itself. It is not only a land of mountains and lakes, but also a place where the history of an entire region once paused, changed course, and made room for a narrow corridor between rival empires. Bulonkul, the blue mirror of Pamir. Bulonkul lies at an elevation of around 3,700 meters in the cold, dry highlands of the Pamir. That figure alone reveals a great deal. At this height, the air becomes thinner, the wind grows harsher, and the surrounding landscape is dominated by rock-barren ground and vast open spaces. Yet, in the middle of this rugged environment sits a lake so clear that it almost reflects the entire sky and the mountains around it. Seen from afar, Bulonkul resembles a giant mirror more than an ordinary lake. Its beauty is not dramatic, but calm, pure, and unforgettable. It is the kind of place that makes people pause for a moment, wondering if what they see is real. Even more remarkable is that despite sitting at 3,700 meters, the area around the lake still supports its own ecosystem, including cold water fish that play an important role in local life. Bulonkul is so striking because it appears where people would least expect it. In a land known for high altitude, harsh conditions, and empty landscapes, Tajikistan suddenly reveals an almost unreal blue mirror. After so many unexpected discoveries, this is the moment when viewers can only stare at the landscape and wonder how much more surprising Tajikistan can still be. Karakul, the meteorite lake of Central Asia. Karakul does not feel like an ordinary lake. It feels like the mark of an ancient impact preserved on the roof of Central Asia. Situated at more than 3,900 meters above sea level, the lake is remarkable not only for its extreme altitude, but also for the geological theory that its basin may have been created by a meteorite impact millions of years ago. If that theory is correct, Karakul is more than a beautiful landscape. It is an enormous geological scar. The landscape surrounding the lake strengthens that impression. Cold winds, barren ground, very little wildlife, and almost no fish because of the low temperatures and unusual mineral composition. At over 3,900 meters, Karakul offers none of the comfort people usually expect from a lakeside destination. Instead, it creates a profound silence, as though wind, cold, and time have slowly stripped life away. A lake this high, this perfectly rounded, this unusual, with almost none of the familiar ecosystem visitors expect, and possibly shaped by a meteorite impact. That combination alone makes Karakul a place that never needs to appear mysterious. It simply is. Alexander's Lake and the unsolved legend, Iskanderkul is more than a beautiful lake. It is a place where history and legend remain closely intertwined. The lake lies within a triangular basin created by ancient landslides, and the name Iskander is directly linked to Alexander the Great. Local legend says his horse Bucephalus died here and disappeared beneath the deep waters. No survey has ever fully erased that story, so it continues to pass from one generation to the next. From that point, the lake became surrounded by many different tales. Older residents say that on nights with a full moon, a shadow sometimes glides across the water. Some believe it is a white horse. Others say it is only a strange reflection that no one can explain. In the past, caravans often avoided camping too close to the shore because the weather could change without warning, and the atmosphere around the lake felt unsettling. Some medieval chronicles even described mysterious sounds rising from the water with no clear source. Small details like these give Iskandarkul a distinctly cinematic atmosphere. It is beautiful, but never gentle. It is connected to one of history's most famous figures. Yet what lingers most is the feeling that this lake is still guarding a secret no one has ever truly uncovered. Anzob, the Tunnel of Fear. Anzob is not the kind of tunnel people drive through and immediately forget. It is a dark passage about 5 kilometers long, so notorious that many simply call it the Tunnel of Fear. For many travelers, the experience begins the same way. The first minute feels fairly normal. By the second minute, the air already seems heavier. Once you are deep inside the 5-kilometer tunnel, the darkness, the echo of engines, and the complete absence of landmarks make it feel less like a road and more like a psychological challenge. Inside Anzob, there is almost nothing to rely on except headlights and sound. There is no scenery, nowhere to stop, and no clear sense of how far you have traveled. That endless sameness creates its own pressure. Minute after minute, it deepens the feeling of disorientation, making a distance that seems modest on paper feel much longer in the mind of anyone passing through. Then, the instant you emerge from the tunnel, Tajikistan changes completely. After 5 kilometers surrounded by darkness, you suddenly enter open country, where the mountains rise ahead and the road continues toward the Fan Mountains. That sharp contrast makes Anzob far more than just a tunnel. It becomes an experience, a passage through fear before reaching the natural world beyond. Bartang. One wrong step costs everything. If there is one place that best captures the spirit of Tajikistan, Bartang may be the strongest choice. This valley cuts through some of the country's harshest terrain, where roads cling to the river, hug steep rock walls, and at times shrink to a single lane carved into the mountainside. Here, even a small mistake can have serious consequences. A single wrong turn of the wheel, or one poor decision on the road, can bring immediate danger. Yet Bartang is remarkable for more than its risks. What matters most is that people have lived in this landscape for centuries, despite its unforgiving conditions. Communities survive through small plots of farmland, shared effort, and an extraordinary ability to adapt to the mountains. Local stories also tell of groups that once retreated deeper into the canyons to escape outside control. That gives Bartang the feeling of a place that was not only isolated, but one that deliberately separated itself from the outside world. Ending the journey in Bartang feels fitting because it expresses the most important truth about Tajikistan. After the stories of geopolitics, ancient civilizations, meteorite lakes, and enduring legends, the greatest force remains nature itself. In Bartang, nature does not exist in the background. It makes the rules. That is why Tajikistan is beautiful, mysterious, and unforgettable, but never a place for carelessness. From Bulunkul's Blue Mirror and the 7 color-changing lakes to Wakhan Pamir, Sarazm Karakul, and finally Bartang, the country reveals itself as not only beautiful, but also mysterious, rugged, and deeply layered with hidden history. If you enjoy travel documentaries that uncover remarkable places like this, remember to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us which part of Tajikistan surprised you the most. Look beyond Cambodia's ancient temples and beautiful beaches, and you will discover a country that almost lost its martial arts, its collective memory. The vast water systems that sustained an empire, and the traditional livelihoods shaped beneath a relentless sun. This is far from the Cambodia shown on a travel postcard. The farther you explore, the clearer it becomes that every landscape of beauty here is also marked by hardship, sacrifice, and questions that remain difficult to answer. Number 1. Bokhater. Cambodia's lost fighting tradition. Within Bokhater Khmer, history is carried not through books, but through the movements of the body. In a modest Cambodian training yard, barefoot fighters tie a krama around their heads or waists before beginning. Elbows, knees, kicks, throws, locks, evasions, and rolls are practiced in sequence, eventually leading into postures shaped by the movements of animals. One moment, they lower themselves toward the ground with the patience of a predator. The next, they burst upward without warning. The movement feels instinctive, as though something ancient has awakened inside them. In 2022, UNESCO inscribed Kun La Bokhater as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. That recognition, however, is about more than the age of the martial art. It also draws attention to how close certain traditions once came to being erased. After war, genocide, and the breaking apart of a culture, the losses extend far beyond destroyed houses and missing books. What vanishes may be something almost invisible: a stance, a combat form, a rhythm of breathing, or the knowledge of a teacher who never found someone to inherit it. Watch closely as an elderly master adjusts the hand of a young boy. The gesture may seem small, but it is not merely a correction. Through that single gesture, a fragment of old Cambodia is passed into the hands of a new generation. History is not always kept behind museum walls. Sometimes it continues through bone, muscle, breath, sweat, and a movement that has refused to disappear for centuries. Number 2. The water system that built the Khmer Empire. Behind Angkor's stone grandeur stood something far more powerful: an enormous hydraulic network supporting a sacred civilization. Visitors usually notice the towering temples, carved walls, long stone passageways, and the enigmatic faces of Bayum, while the empire's true foundation remains almost invisible. Look toward the temples, however, and you overlook what sustained the empire beneath them: water. Across nearly 400 square kilometers, Angkor functioned on a scale few cities could match. Beyond its temples stretched roads, reservoirs, canals, dikes, ponds, and an immense irrigation network. The Khmer were not constructing monuments solely for the gods. They were creating a system that could secure survival, irrigate rice fields, feed communities, and preserve authority through the changing rhythm of wet and dry seasons. Picture the city as one living organism, with temples, rice fields, reservoirs, and canals connected together. Water coursed through this network, carrying life outward until the fields were supplied. With food available, communities endured and temples continued to rise. The empire's strength did not come from the throne alone. It came from mastering when, where, and how water could move. Across the world, Angkor became famous because of stone. Yet water sustained the city from within. The story of a powerful empire does not always open with conquest. At times, it begins with a far more practical problem: how can water be captured and kept? Number 3. Cambodia's hidden beauty, forged by salt. Far from the Cambodia most travelers imagine lies a landscape where beauty appears as blinding white salt-cracked earth and ground scorched beneath the relentless sun. This is the world of Kampot and Kep's salt fields. Cambodia is usually remembered for ancient temples, tropical forests, lively markets, and life along its rivers. Rarely do people picture these salt flats, where the sun is not part of the scenery, but part of the daily work. Forget the polished postcard image of tourism. Here, everything is reduced to seawater-level ground, harsh sunlight, and workers dragging heavy rakes through waves of rising heat. Seen from a distance, the salt fields shimmer like giant mirrors across the plain. The beauty quickly changes once you step closer. Feet sink into salty mud, sweat soaks every shirt. Rake handles harden. Weathered hands and years beneath the sun leave their mark on every face. Then came 2025, when heavy rains reportedly reduced Kampot Kep salt production by more than 90% compared with the previous year. To most outsiders, that sounds like nothing more than a statistic. For salt workers, it means children's school fees, rice for the family, debt at the neighborhood shop, and an entire season of hard work washed away by the weather. Salt looks inexpensive once it reaches the table. For the people producing it, however, the price is never low. The whiteness of salt is not created by something gentle or pure. It is earned through relentless heat, sweat, and the same exhausting work repeated until every part of the body begins to ache. Number 4. Kampot pepper. How a tiny spice supports local lives. Small enough to rest in your palm, one Kampot peppercorn may seem insignificant. For Cambodia's pepper farmers, however, that tiny crop can decide whether a family survives the year. This is why Kampot pepper represents far more than flavor. Its protected geographical identity was registered in Cambodia in 2014, then officially recognized by the European Union in 2016. That protection gives pepper grown in Kampot and Kep something like an economic passport to global markets. Yet the journey begins at a pace far slower than the few seconds needed to season a meal. Month after month, farmers tend the vines, examine the clusters, wait for perfect ripeness, and then begin harvesting, drying, sorting, and preserving the pepper. When the crop succeeds, it can sustain a whole household. When it fails, a full year's earnings may vanish before leaving the vines. Placed on a table in an expensive restaurant abroad, the peppercorn appears refined and effortless. Back in Kampot, its real story is written through red soil, sweat, burning sun, sudden rain, and hands that cannot afford a mistake. The reputation growers value so deeply also places constant pressure on them. Quality must endure, the land must remain, the craft must survive. The Kampot name must never be reduced to a meaningless label. However far one peppercorn travels, its story always starts with a farmer working among the vines in the field. Number 5. Koh Rong, a paradise facing its limits. Koh Rong's beauty carries its own risk. The more breathtaking a place becomes, the easier it is to overuse. From afar, the island seems to offer everything travelers dream of finding. Crystal blue water, white beaches, tropical forests, fishing villages, wooden boats, and peaceful evenings by the sea create the perfect picture. Yet places called paradise often begin paying the price long before anyone notices. The real question is no longer how beautiful Koh Rong looks. Instead, the real concern is how long that beauty will survive. Tourism certainly brings visitors, but it always brings something else with them. Resorts, new piers, growing waste, greater demand for fresh water, higher land prices, new employment, and changes to everyday local life all follow behind. Families that once depended on fishing may eventually earn their living from tourism instead. Quiet beaches can slowly become construction zones. Even so, Koh Rong is not simply a story about what has been lost. Another story is unfolding in Prek Ko Ang Kong. An eco-tourism community manages nearly 400 hectares, builds walkways from recycled plastic, and works to protect the surrounding mangrove forest. Rather than standing by, local residents are using tourism itself as a way to conserve the island. Imagine an early morning on Koh Rong. A fisherman drags his boat onto the beach, while nearby tourists quietly photograph the sunrise. Elsewhere, boats unload construction materials onto the shore. Not far away, mangrove forests remain rooted in the water, protecting the coastline, sheltering young fish, and preserving a way of life that many visitors never notice. A paradise like Koh Rong can be loved until it begins to wear out. Every paradise has its limits. Once every corner is shaped for short-term experiences, the first thing to disappear may be the untouched wilderness that drew people here from the very beginning. Number 6. Tonle Sap, where life follows the water. Around Tonle Sap, life is shaped by water rather than land. People here do not simply live beside the lake. They live with a landscape that constantly reshapes daily life. For most of us, a home is something permanent, built firmly on the ground. It usually comes with a road, a yard, or perhaps a fence. On Tonle Sap, however, a house may stand on tall stilts, float with the changing seasons, or rely on a boat tied beside it. As the water rises, boats take over the role that motorcycles play elsewhere. Once the water falls, towering stilt houses emerge, making entire villages seem to balance on long, narrow legs. Tonle Sap and Cambodia's inland fisheries form an essential lifeline, supplying much of the country's protein, while generating an estimated $2 billion each year. That figure reminds us the lake is far more than a beautiful view from above. For countless families, it means food income, school fees, medical expenses, and long-term food security. Morning arrives here without traffic or crowded markets. Instead, the day begins with quiet boat engines in the mist, paddles slicing through the water, voices drifting between homes, and fish splashing inside woven baskets. Nearby women prepare meals in kitchens built just above the water. Children travel to school by boat, while a small floating shop provides cooking, oil, instant noodles, soft drinks, and daily essentials for the surrounding community. Although Tonle Sap is beautiful, it is never truly predictable. Whenever the rhythm of the water changes, every household must adjust with it. To visitors, the lake may seem like an unusual yet beautiful scene. Number 7. Life within the Mekong communities. Where Tonle Sap reflects life across the lake, the Mekong carries it through Cambodia's docks, fish markets, and riverside villages. On a map, it may look like a river, but here it is something greater. Across Cambodia, daily survival often depends on the river. What a family eats, what they can sell, which debts remain unpaid, and how they move forward. Inland fisheries in the lower Mekong Basin produce an estimated 2.3 million tons each year, worth billions of dollars. Yet this story does not begin with statistics. Instead, it begins at small river landings from Kratie and Stung Trung to fishing villages along the banks. Arrive at a dock in Kratie before morning fully wakes and a thin layer of mist still hangs over the water. One by one, boats return baskets filled with fish, and vendors crouch beside the catch to choose the freshest ones. Children head toward school. Nearby, several men repair their nets with quick, familiar hands, as though the river's smell has followed them since childhood. Behind them, the Mekong appears calm, yet quietly sets the pace of everything around it. For families living along its banks, fish mean far more than a meal. They become school fees, medicine, roof repairs, boat fuel, and payments still owed to the local shop. When the catch is small, the loss reaches beyond one difficult day. It may force an entire family to reconsider dinner. And the Mekong is never controlled by only one country. As its current passes through regions, borders, and decisions made far away, the effects continue downstream. Less sediment, fish abandoning familiar migration routes, flood seasons arriving at the wrong time. Downstream communities are always the first to face the consequences. To visitors, the Mekong may simply be a beautiful sunset across the water. For Cambodians, whose lives follow the river, it means tonight's meal, the debt waiting at month's end, and the boat still needing repairs. Then comes tomorrow's catch. Number 8. How Khmer art is finding life again. Not every dance fades because people stop loving it. Sometimes it disappears simply because too few remain to teach the next generation. Across Cambodia, Khmer art is experiencing more than a return to the stage. In many communities, it is being learned again, like a memory restored after years of silence. Today, Cambodia has several UNESCO-recognized forms of intangible cultural heritage. These include the Royal Ballet, Spek Tom Chape Dang Vang Lakon Kol, and Kun Labokator. Yet beyond these official titles lies a simple reality. Cultural heritage survives only when someone chooses to learn it, remember it, and pass it to those who come next. Imagine stepping into a rehearsal room in Phnom Penh or Siem Reap. Young dancers face the mirror, repeating graceful hand movements so slowly that they appear effortless. Yet a slightly misplaced wrist, a glance that breaks the rhythm, or a step lacking softness can quietly change the entire spirit of the performance. Watching from the corner, an elderly teacher notices every detail. Whenever he adjusts a finger, he is doing far more than correcting technique. He is helping preserve something that once stood on the edge of disappearing. These students are learning much more than choreography. They are absorbing a language expressed through hands, eyes, wrists, footsteps, and patience. Today, Khmer art must find its place between two very different pressures. When performances exist only for tourists, tradition risks becoming little more than decoration. Yet, if it remains only inside traditional spaces, younger generations may slowly lose touch with it. Cambodia's recovery is not measured only by economic growth or new construction. It is also being rebuilt through dance, music, masks, stages, and young people willing to patiently relearn what history once tore apart. Number 9. Cambodia's elephants and the price of protection. Today, the most important question in Cambodia is no longer whether you can see an elephant. What truly matters is something far more fundamental. Are elephants living creatures that deserve protection, or have they become another tourism product? Cambodia is believed to have only about 400 to 600 wild Asian elephants remaining. A recent genetic survey in the north recorded 51 individuals across the protected forests of Pre Long, Pre Ar Rokar, and Cheb, giving those statistics a far deeper meaning. The story goes far beyond collecting memorable travel photos. It is about forests, habitat, local livelihoods, and whether such a massive animal can survive as its world continues to shrink. That is why Cambodia's eastern highlands, especially Mondulkiri, have become closely linked with forests, red soil, indigenous communities, and elephants. For years, many visitors arrived in Southeast Asia, dreaming of riding elephants, bathing them, touching them, and posing for close-up photographs. As awareness of animal welfare has grown, however, an uncomfortable question follows. Can human entertainment come at the animal's expense? A genuine elephant sanctuary feels nothing like a performance. Visitors often keep their distance, walk more slowly, watch more patiently, and accept that elephants are under no obligation to entertain anyone. An elephant may spend long moments beneath the trees, quietly pulling leaves with its trunk, wandering through the mud, or barely moving at all. None of that makes the experience less meaningful. Sometimes its silent presence beneath the forest canopy says more than any performance ever could, reminding us why its home should never become a stage. Number 10. Cambodia's darkest memory. Some places in Cambodia naturally make people lower their voices. In those places, history has never been locked behind museum glass. Instead, it lingers in the walls across the courtyard, inside old photographs within forgotten names, and in the silence carried by families who are still alive today. That is why Tuol Sleng remains one of the most unforgettable places in Phnom Penh. The most unsettling truth is not simply what happened inside those buildings. It is the fact that they were once classrooms, a place meant for children's voices, blackboards, playgrounds, and recess, before being transformed into a symbol of one of the darkest periods in modern Cambodian history. Today, the Tuol Sleng Archive preserves photographs and documents belonging to more than 5,000 prisoners once held at S21. Those thousands should never be viewed as a statistic alone. Behind every photograph was a face, a family, a name, and a life interrupted far too soon. Walking through those rooms, visitors often discover that the greatest weight comes not only from the past itself, but from the feeling that the past is quietly staring back. For countless Cambodian families, the Khmer Rouge is not a chapter safely left behind. It survives in grandparents' memories, in names that are no longer spoken, in long silences around the dinner table, and in generations who grew up without enough relatives left to tell the complete story. Even so, Cambodia continues building, developing, welcoming visitors, opening cafes, and sending young people out into the wider world. Yet beneath that steady rhythm of everyday life, memory still remains. The real question is not whether people should forget, but how they can remember while continuing to move forward. After exploring Bokator Angkor, Salt, Pepper Islands, lakes, rivers, Khmer art, and elephants, we arrive at Cambodia's deepest scar. This country is defined by far more than its culture or natural beauty. What truly makes Cambodia remarkable is its ability to keep standing after everything it has endured. With so many unnamed memories beneath its soil, Cambodia is not a country anyone can truly understand in a hurry. Behind its ancient temples, waterways, salt fields, forests, and painful memories, life continues, moving quietly forward every day. If you want to discover more hidden sides of countries that few people ever talk about, Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments which part of this journey stayed with you the most. Proudly stretching across the Iberian Peninsula between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, Spain enjoys a strategic location, breathtaking landscapes, and an extraordinary cultural heritage. From the crystal blue Canary Islands and the endless olive groves of Andalusia, to the mysterious Alhambra and the magnificent Sagrada Familia, a masterpiece that is still under construction after more than 140 years. Welcome to the land of the fighting bull, Spain. This is the homeland of independent women, where splitting the bill at lively tapas bars is perfectly normal. It is also the birthplace of passionate flamenco and home to a Mediterranean cuisine recognized around the world as a cultural treasure. Spain is equally proud to be home to two global soccer giants, Real Madrid and Barcelona, as the nation sets its sights on capturing the FIFA World Cup trophy in 2026. Be sure to subscribe and stay with us until the end of the video, because the surprising traditions and hidden stories of one of the world's longest living nations will make you see Spain in a whole new way. Number 1. Spain, the quiet superpower. Located on the Iberian Peninsula, Spain covers approximately 195,360 square miles, making it slightly larger than the U.S. state of California. Interestingly, this nation of 48 million people extends beyond mainland Europe. Its territory also reaches into North Africa through the Canary Islands and the autonomous cities of Ceuta and Melilla. This strategic location gives Spain direct control over one of the world's most important shipping routes linking the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Spain's infrastructure is remarkably modern. Its high-speed rail network stretches for more than 2,500 miles, making it the second largest in the world. Trains travel at speeds of up to 193 kilometers per hour, allowing passengers to travel between Madrid and Barcelona in just 2.5 hours. Supporting that transportation network is a massive energy system. In 2023, renewable energy generated more than 50% of the nation's electricity. Vast solar farms have helped transform Spain into one of Southern Europe's leading energy hubs. In agriculture, Spain ranks as the world's leading producer of olive oil. Andalusia alone produces about 1.6 million tons of olive oil each year, generating more than $4 billion in export revenue. The country also has approximately 960,000 hectares of vineyards, the largest vineyard area anywhere in the world, helping it dominate the European wine market. Tourism is one of Spain's most important industries, generating billions of dollars in revenue, while welcoming 85 million international visitors in 2023, nearly twice the country's population. One of its most iconic landmarks is Barcelona's Sagrada Familia. Construction on this architectural masterpiece began in 1882. After more than 140 years of continuous work, roughly 7 times longer than it took to build the Great Pyramids of Egypt, it is finally approaching completion. Yet Spain's greatest source of soft power comes from something even more influential: its language. Spanish is now spoken by more than 500 million native speakers, officially surpassing English to become the second most spoken native language in the world. It serves as a powerful geopolitical bridge connecting Europe with all of Latin America. What about you? Where are you watching from? And what language do you speak? Let us know in the comments below. Number 2. The beauty of Spanish women. As you stroll through the streets of Madrid or Barcelona, you'll notice that Spanish women have a naturally captivating charm. Unlike the blonde beauty often associated with the United States, their appearance reflects the distinctive character of Southern Europe. Many have defined facial features, sun-kissed skin, and naturally dark brown hair. Rather than wearing flashy outfits, they often favor a simple, understated sense of style. Their appeal comes from confidence and the way they carry themselves with purpose. That independent spirit is also reflected in Spanish law. Women in Spain do not change their last names after marriage. From birth to the end of their lives, they keep their original family names. Children automatically receive two family names, with the father's surname first and the mother's second, preserving both family lineages. This independence is supported by education, as women make up about 60% of all college graduates. That educational advantage also shapes a practical approach to marriage. Spanish women have their first child later than women anywhere else in Europe, at an average age of about 32, often prioritizing financial stability first. In return, they enjoy impressive health outcomes. The average life expectancy for Spanish women is 86.3 years, the highest in Europe. This long life expectancy has created a remarkable demographic trend. Today, about 2 million women over the age of 65 live independently. Women's influence is also evident in politics, where they consistently hold more than 40% of the seats in parliament. Financial independence also shapes the dating culture. In busy tapas bars, honesty and directness are valued more than elaborate flirting, and splitting the bill is completely normal. Paying separately doesn't make dating any less romantic. Instead, many people see it as a sign of equality. Which dating style do you prefer? The American approach or the straightforward attitude of Spanish women? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 3. Spain's passion for sports. In Spain, soccer is far more than a sport. It's a major economic force. La Liga alone contributes about 1.44% of the country's gross domestic product and supports more than 185,000 direct jobs nationwide. Unlike many clubs in England or the United States that are owned by private billionaires, Real Madrid and Barcelona operate as non-profit organizations. These clubs are owned by their members, who vote on major decisions ranging from budgets to player transfers. That model makes each club a true community institution. The global appeal of these two clubs is showcased through El Clásico. Every match attracts more than 650 million viewers, making it one of the most effective ways to introduce Spanish culture to the world. At home, soccer also serves as a powerful bond connecting Spain's autonomous communities. Spain's World Cup victory in 2010 united the nation through its famous tiki-taka style, built on short, precise passing and exceptional ball control. Now, Spanish fans are looking ahead to the FIFA World Cup in 2026 in North America, hoping to bring home another championship trophy. Beyond soccer, Rafael Nadal stands as another symbol of the nation's sporting excellence. His record of 14 French Open titles on the demanding clay courts is one of the greatest achievements in tennis history. That success reflects not only remarkable skill, but also outstanding fitness and incredible determination. It is another example of the strength and depth of Spanish sports. Spain's national basketball team regularly competes with the United States for Olympic gold medals. One key to that success is the country's public infrastructure. Rather than treating sports as an expensive luxury, the government invests in high-quality training facilities throughout local neighborhoods. That approach has made staying active a natural part of everyday life for people from all walks of life. What impressed you the most? The passion of the fans? The billions of dollars generated by the sport? Or having a training center close to home? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 4. Culture shock in Spain. If you are used to a fast-paced lifestyle, Spain may come as a surprise. One reason is a time zone difference that has existed for 80 years. Geographically, Spain lies along roughly the same longitude as the United Kingdom. However, in 1940, the government switched to Central European time. As a result, the sun sets unusually late, and the entire daily schedule is pushed back by several hours. Lunch is the main meal of the day, and usually begins around 2 in the afternoon. Dinner rarely starts before 9 or 10 at night. From 2 until 5 in the afternoon, many stores close for the traditional siesta break. Business activity often pauses so people can rest, whether tourists want to shop or not. Attitudes toward punctuality also follow their own set of rules. Arriving 15 or 30 minutes late to a social gathering is completely normal and is not usually considered disrespectful. Social distance often disappears from the very first meeting through the traditional greeting of 2 cheek kisses. Instead of a formal handshake, people touch cheeks and make a kissing gesture on each side. That warmth and friendliness continue even after the workday ends. People often head straight to a bar for tapas instead of going home immediately. At the table, everyone waits until the entire group has arrived, then raises a glass together before the meal begins. Paella in particular is usually prepared as a shared dish, and prices often apply to a minimum of 2 people. It can be nearly impossible to order paella when dining alone. After the meal, an unwritten tradition known as sobremesa begins. Instead of immediately asking for the check, diners remain at the table, talking for hours. Another convenience is that there is little pressure to leave a tip. Servers receive a fixed base salary, so leaving a few coins on the table is simply considered a polite gesture. Spain's relaxed pace of life and strong emphasis on human connection have become defining features of the country. Do you see this as the ideal lifestyle, or would you find it difficult to adjust? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 5. Spain's unique cuisine. In the United States, a meal usually begins by sitting down at a table and ordering food. In Spain, however, the experience can be completely different. Traditional 3-course dining is not always the standard. Instead of an appetizer, entree, and dessert, the most distinctive tradition is tapas, small plates, often served right at the bar. Diners rarely remain in just one place for the entire evening. Moving from one restaurant to another during the same evening is completely normal. Excluding street food, Spain has one of the highest concentrations of Michelin-starred restaurants in Europe. A leading example is the northern city of San Sebastian, home to numerous upscale restaurants, known for exceptionally refined culinary techniques. The region has transformed food into a form of luxury tourism, attracting large numbers of affluent travelers. Among Spain's most famous and expensive delicacies is Iberian ham. It comes from purebred black Iberian pigs that feed primarily on acorns. The natural curing and drying process lasts between 3 and 4 years. A whole leg of ham can cost several thousand US. When served, it is carefully sliced into extremely thin pieces. This slicing technique allows the fat to melt naturally at room temperature. When it comes to main dishes, paella requires extremely precise cooking. It is prepared in a large, shallow, flat-bottomed paella pan. The rice takes on its golden color from saffron, one of the most expensive spices in the world. The quality of a paella is often judged by the crispy layer of rice at the bottom of the pan, known locally as socarrat. These dishes are often paired with a sparkling wine called cava. This wine is produced from native grape varieties and must undergo a highly controlled fermentation process. Much of that process takes place in underground wine cellars stretching for hundreds of kilometers across Catalonia. For dessert, churros are undoubtedly the most famous choice. These star-shaped strips of dough are fried at very high temperatures. They are an absolute must-try. Churros are usually served with a thick, rich chocolate sauce. The dense chocolate coats the crispy surface of each churro. Which dining style would you prefer? A large American-style meal? Or an evening spent moving from place to place and sampling tapas? Let us know in the comments below. Number 6. Spain's most famous landmarks. As you enter the Alhambra Palace in Granada, the first thing that captures your attention is its striking Mudahar and Islamic-inspired architecture. This complex covers 142,000 square meters and stands on a plateau about 150 meters above street level. Throughout the palace, Horseshoe-shaped arches and intricate geometric patterns are carved into the walls with extraordinary precision. Take a closer look at the fountain system. It has operated continuously since the 13th century without electricity or mechanical pumps. Engineers used the natural slope of the terrain to create water pressure, directing the flow down toward the city center. The next stop is Toledo Cathedral. This Gothic masterpiece took 269 years to complete. Rather than spreading outward, the entire building was designed to rise dramatically toward the sky. The main bell tower rises 90 meters high. From inside, the soaring stone vaults and the immense weight of the surrounding structure create an overwhelming sense of grandeur. These proportions make visitors feel remarkably small beneath the architecture. Continue south to Plaza de España in Seville, where you will enter a vast semicircular space covering 50,000 square meters. The buildings feature white-painted walls, red clay tile roofs, and decorative iron railings. A canal measuring 515 meters runs through the entire plaza. The plaza is covered with colorful azulejo tiles. These tiles help reflect heat. Combined with moisture rising from the canal, they help cool the surrounding air during Spain's hot summer days. The final stop on the journey is Barcelona. Here you can admire buildings designed by architect Antoni Gaudí. When viewing Casa Batlló and the Sagrada Familia, you will notice that traditional straight lines are almost entirely absent. His designs were inspired directly by the physical structures of tree trunks and bones, allowing the buildings to distribute weight and resist gravity. Construction on the Sagrada Familia began in 1882. Once completed, the basilica will have a total of 18 towers. This extraordinary architectural style has given Barcelona an urban identity unlike anywhere else in Europe. Number 7. The nation with the world's highest life expectancy. Spaniards consume large amounts of cured pork and other high-fat foods. Many also drink wine almost every day, yet their life expectancy remains higher than that of most people around the world. According to global statistics, this is considered one of Europe's most remarkable health paradoxes. The Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation has made a remarkable prediction. By 2040, Spain is expected to surpass Japan and become the country with the world's highest average life expectancy, reaching 85.8 years. This achievement is not primarily attributed to genetics, but to highly beneficial eating habits. Spaniards closely follow the Mediterranean diet, consuming generous amounts of extra virgin olive oil and fresh seafood. These foods provide high levels of antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids, which support healthy blood vessels. As a result, rates of cardiovascular disease among people over 45 remain relatively low. However, a healthy diet alone is not enough to produce a long life. A strong healthcare system also plays an essential role. In the United States, a single hospital bill can sometimes wipe out savings intended for retirement. Spain, by contrast, provides publicly funded healthcare to all citizens. Illnesses can be detected and treated at an early stage, reducing the risk of dangerous complications before they develop. Another important factor behind the country's long life expectancy is urban design. Streets in Spain often prioritize pedestrians, encouraging people to walk every day instead of spending long periods sitting in cars. People also gather in public squares each afternoon to socialize and talk. This daily habit helps reduce stress by significantly lowering levels of stress-related hormones. Spain's high life expectancy is therefore the result of a well-organized society, not simply good luck. Number 8. Spain's most unique festivals. Spaniards are not especially drawn to quiet, low-key celebrations. The country has long been famous for its dramatic and spectacular bullfighting events. As a result, many cultural events here demand direct public participation. They require enormous resources and can sometimes involve deadly risks. The San Fermín festival in Pamplona is the clearest example. The festival's main attraction is the famous run alongside massive bulls. The entire event takes place along a narrow cobblestone street measuring less than 1 kilometer. Every year, tens of thousands of international visitors arrive, ready to face the danger and test their courage. The street has almost no sturdy protective barriers. Every danger is real. La Tomatina in Buñol is far less dangerous, but it is equally spectacular. It is the largest tomato-throwing battle in the world. The event has no religious or historical significance. It simply began after a spontaneous fight among a group of young people in 1945. Today, local authorities prepare more than 100 tons of ripe tomatoes each year. Interestingly, tomato juice contains a high concentration of natural acids. These acids act like a cleaning agent, leaving the cobblestone streets remarkably clean afterward. In terms of scale, the Fallas Festival in Valencia is truly extraordinary. Local residents spend an entire year building enormous sculptures. The cost of creating them can reach several million US. Many of the structures rise as high as skyscrapers. Yet the most impressive moment comes on the closing night. Every giant creation is completely burned, leaving almost nothing behind. The people of Valencia do not see this as wasteful. To them, the fire is a ritual that closes the cycle of the old year. Finally, there is the social hierarchy of Seville's April Fair. The fairgrounds are filled with thousands of brightly colored tents. However, this is not an entirely open public space. Most of the tents are privately owned and operate as exclusive, closed-off venues. To enter, you must have a membership card or an official invitation. Behind those doors is an incredibly lively party atmosphere. For an entire week, people socialize and continuously expand their personal and professional connections. A race with death, the burning of creations worth millions of dollars, or private parties behind closed doors. Which event makes you the most curious? After seeing these extravagant celebrations, do you think the cost of living in Spain is really as high as many people imagine? Number 9. Spain's vibrant nightlife. Nightlife in Spain has truly developed into a major industry. The foundation of this industry is one of the highest concentrations of bars in Europe. According to statistics, there is roughly one entertainment venue for every 165 people. When much of Europe is already asleep, Spain's bars are only beginning to come alive. The busiest period runs from 2 until 6 in the morning. To meet this demand, major cities such as Madrid have developed night bus systems and employ a large service workforce. From this enormous bar culture, a tradition known as La Marcha has emerged. Customers rarely stay in just one place. Over the course of a single night, they often move between 3 or 4 different bars. In the south, especially in Andalusia, flamenco bars are a popular and familiar stop. Authentic flamenco carries a powerful and deeply emotional energy. Audiences hear raw, gravelly voices and the pounding of heels against wooden floors so forcefully that the entire stage seems to shake. Every sound is completely natural, without the use of amplification systems. In sharp contrast to that intimate atmosphere are the enormous nightclubs of Ibiza and Barcelona. These venues can welcome thousands of people at once and are professionally managed like major corporations. In just a few hours, they can generate several $million in revenue. International DJs performing live attract huge numbers of visitors from around the world. This long night of partying ends with a practical tradition for restoring energy. At around 6 in the morning, people leave the clubs and stop at local bakeries. Eating freshly fried churros with hot chocolate is the quickest way to recharge. This meal officially brings an all-night adventure to an end, just as a new day begins. Are you ready to stay awake all night and refuel at 6 in the morning like a local? Number 10. The cost of living in Spain. The cost of living in Spain varies significantly between the largest cities and areas outside the urban centers. Renting a one-bedroom apartment in Madrid or Barcelona usually costs between $1,000 and $1,300 per month. However, in coastal cities such as Valencia or Malaga, rent may fall to around $600 to $800 per month. This price difference is one reason many foreigners choose to move to southern Spain. They are looking for a more comfortable lifestyle, rather than spending too much money in expensive urban centers. Although Spanish cuisine is famous around the world, it remains surprisingly affordable because of the country's abundant local food supply. You can enjoy a traditional three-course meal for only about $12 to $15. More importantly, the bill usually contains few hidden fees because the listed prices already include tax. Spain also does not have the same expectation of leaving a 15 to 20% tip as in the United States. You can also buy a bottle of local wine at a supermarket for only $3 to $5. That is about the same price as, or even less than, a cup of coffee in North America. Public transportation in Spanish cities is highly efficient and heavily subsidized by the government. A subway or bus ticket costs only about $1.50. The government has even provided free train passes for frequent users of certain commuter rail routes. The goal of this policy is to reduce the financial burden of inflation. Thanks to an extensive and affordable public transportation network, many people have no need to own a car. They avoid the cost of purchasing a vehicle, paying for insurance, and covering maintenance expenses. Spain has the second largest high-speed rail network in the world. Its trains can reach speeds of 300 kilometers per hour. Passengers can travel across the country for as little as $15 to $20. These low fares are driven by intense competition among rail companies such as Ouigo and Ireo. If you choose to drive, you will need to pay for fuel as well as relatively expensive highway tolls. Based on current figures, high-speed rail remains the best option in terms of both travel time and cost. Our journey through 10 fascinating facts about Spain now comes to an end. What impressed you the most about this country? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next adventure.